Party. A new book brings fresh insight into the beach bum culture. And in sports, Suki off to Italy to defend his world title.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
A very good evening to you. I'm Pearson Bowen. Commerce Minister Donville Innes has cautioned against an insular view of Trinidad conglomerate Neil and Massey's rebranding of its Barbados subsidiaries. Mr. Innes made the comment as Neil and Massey officially unveiled its new Massey brand during an official opening ceremony at Massey Supercentre in Warren, St. Michael. Under the name changes will be BS&T will now be called Massey. DeCosta Manning's retail will be known as Massey Stores Home. Knight's Pharmacy will now be called Massey Stores Pharmacy. And United Insurance will now be called Massey United Insurance. Supercentre supermarkets will be known as Massey Stores Supercentre and Massey Stores Supermarket.
Quite frankly, some people here in Barbados may see an event like this as the final touches of a Trinidadian company take over Barbados companies. And I say that we need to move beyond that rhetoric and face some realities. Realities that say we here must be a bit more accepting of others and their enterprises, while at the same time being more aggressive in their pursuit of enterprise or indigenous enterprises and spreading our wings further afield.
Meanwhile, Mr. Innes also believes that rebranding is not restricted to companies.
We in government must take note and follow suit, as corporations such as Neil and Massey are doing. We have to speak of the governance brand that impacts upon all that we do in this region, including facilitating the growth and development of our enterprises. Our messages, especially in terms of policies, must be absolutely unambiguous. Investors and citizens must have no doubt as to where government stands on any issues. Our messages must be clearly delivered, just as Neil and Massey branding exercise today will do for them.
Well, in view of what the minister just said, we want now to get your take on the question: should Barbadians be more accepting of foreign investment into this country? Please text yes or no to the short code 8111. We will share your results of your take at the end of our news. A former politician wants an official study on the beach bum phenomenon in Barbados. Roll Eastman, who represented the St. James North constituency for the opposition Barbados Labour Party, believes it has social and psychological implications for Barbados which need to be researched. Speaking at the launch of his fourth book called Beach Bum, Eastman, an attorney at law who is also a former teacher, says there were at least 3 objectives of the men who made their living from selling sexual favors on the island's beaches. He said some men just wanted to get involved with female visitors to the island, others wanted to buy boats and get wealthy, while others wanted to get married and migrate.
Go out there and really research this phenomenon of the black stud, sometimes called a shoreline executive, and what he sees himself as, what he sees his future to be. In this book, I mentioned that some of those fellows on the beach are present time oriented. In other words, they are now doing what they're doing now. You're 30 years old now, acting now, without reference to what life will be for you at 60, when you will hardly be able to bargain to the same degree that you will be at 30.
Meanwhile, Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism Richard Seeley lauded Eastman for his writing and encouraged more Barbadians to do the same.
I want to congratulate Roll, once again commend the book to all of those persons who are again working in and around tourism and want to understand the social impact or the social impacts, because it happens at several different levels. But indeed, if you just want to understand Barbadian society better, this is a very good book, a very good read.
Tourism officials say there has been an increase in white-collar crimes, especially cases like ATM fraud against visitors across the globe. And while this has not been the case in Barbados, Parliamentary Secretary in the Tourism Ministry, Senator Irene Sandiford-Garner, says care has to be taken to ensure that it does not occur. Senator Sandiford-Garner was speaking at the Ministry of Tourism's annual Multi-Hazard Disaster Management Symposium at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre. She says safety and security is of critical importance when a visitor is choosing a destination.
We are well aware that Barbados trades within the global marketplace with safety and security as one of its 3 key brand elements. Therefore, successful and sustainable tourism efforts rely indispensably upon the provision of an environment in which guests feel safe and comfortable. I am happy to state that the Ministry of Tourism and International Transport has translated this policy and its predecessor into tangible actions.
Meantime, Executive Director of Crime Stoppers Barbados Deverell Dupini says governmental and non-governmental organizations should consult with their international partners to find strategies to combat these types of crimes. He says Crime Stoppers Barbados has already started.
Many of our programs in Canada and Australia have been, in fact, participated in various interventions, have worked with their governments and their regulatory agencies in terms of developing programs, initiatives that can assist in dealing with the problem. So from our perspective, we will continue to collate that information from an internal perspective, have our internal dialogue to be able to determine what is right that we can further bring forward to the table when such meetings with the various stakeholders, both governmental and regulatory and other NGOs, to lend our voice and our mechanism to deal with these issues.
After a day of industrial action that caused cancellations of domestic and international flights, Caribbean Airlines pilots returned to work today. Officials from CAL informed passengers today that they've returned to their regular schedule. However, reports out of Trinidad indicate that the pilots still have some issues that they want to have resolved by management. At least 22 CAL domestic flights had to be cancelled yesterday, along with several international flights, after a number of rostered pilots called in sick. Chief Executive Officer of the Trinidad-based airline, Michael DeLolo, had condemned the action, stating that they had been in discussion with the Pilots Association. Chief Commissioner Emeritus of the Barbados Boys Scouts Association, Basil Forbes, is dead. Mr. Forbes died early this morning after a period of illness. He was also a past president of the Barbados Manufacturers Association. Edmund Bradshaw, the Honorary Secretary of the Barbados Boy Scouts Association, said he was saddened by the news. He recalled Mr. Forbes as a devout Christian who served the Methodist Church well at a senior level. Mr. Forbes was first a Scout, becoming District Commissioner for the North and later Chief Commissioner for the island. He has served on the executive of the Barbados Boy Scouts Association for many years, including being International Commissioner. He was eventually designated Chief Commissioner Emeritus. Heads of governments of CARICOM are being told to find work for their young people. New chairman of CARICOM, Gaston Brown, has identified youth unemployment as a major issue which is threatening to create problems for countries in the region. He expressed the concern at the opening of the 35th regular Heads of Government meeting at the Sandals Grand Hotel, Dickinson Bay.
Dickinson Bay was the site of the first signing of the Caribbean Accord in 1965 by the leaders of Antigua and Barbados and Guyana. CARICOM Chairman Gaston Brown says as the leaders start another round of talks here, over 3 decades later, they must look at some of the issues affecting young people. The Antigua and Barbuda Prime Minister is worried about high youth unemployment in the region. He believes this situation will eventually lead to frustration and rebellion among young people and result in many leaving the region, taking badly needed talents elsewhere. Mr. Brown says the region must treat the problem as it would address a natural disaster.
I urge this conference to establish a commission specifically to focus on the issue of youth unemployment in our region with a view to taking urgent action to tackle it. I suggest that if the idea of such a commission meets the approval of this conference, evidence be taken from young people across our region and how they see the issue being addressed.
Mr. Brown also outlined a proposal to overcome some of the stumbling blocks preventing economic integration in various sectors of the regional economy.
There could be collaboration between willing governments and the private sector in the ownership of productive operations in each other's countries. For example, one or two governments might invest in a project in a country with a natural resource that could be developed into a viable economic project that would create an income stream, not only for the government in which the resource resides, but also the governments that invest in the enterprise.
Meanwhile, CARICOM Secretary General Erwin LaRocque has high hopes for the strategic plan, which is one of the priority areas at this conference.
The key to the success of the plan is agreement on the priority activities and the steps to implement them. That in itself will be a sign that we are truly on the way to achieving that mature regionalism which is required to guide the future of our community.
Another highlight of the opening ceremony was the launch of the CARICOM song. Titled Celebrating CARICOM, it was written and produced by Dominican Michael Henderson, and it will be used at ceremonial and community events. Bahamian attorney and scholar Miss Marian Bethel also received the prestigious Triennial Award for Women at the opening ceremony. Reporting from St. John's, Antigua, I'm Sean Farrell for the CBC News.
Barbados Prime Minister Frundle Stewart believes the 5-year strategic plan to be discussed by heads of governments tomorrow in caucus is an important step for the region. Speaking as the heads continue their discussions, he said in the face of all the challenges the regional integration movement has been experiencing, particularly since the global economic downturn, CARICOM has gone back to basics with a proposed strategic plan. He says he's satisfied that efforts are being made to effect a great leap forward for the regional integration movement. The Prime Minister adds that after canvassing the people of the region at all levels, CARICOM has come up with a report that charts a very clear direction for the regional integration movement over the next 5 years.
We have come up with a report, not a top-down report, but a bottom-up report, because we consulted with people across the region, all the relevant stakeholders and institutions in the region we were able to consult, including opposition parties, the private sector, labor, and so on. So we have a report that reflects the understanding and the ideals of the principal stakeholders across the region, and we're now in a very good position to chart the way forward for the regional integration movement over the next 5 years, which of course the report is intended to cover.
Well, we hear more from the CARICOM Heads Conference in our regional segment. The University of the West Indies Cafil campus is seeking to boost its foreign exchange earning potential by going after international students and partnering with international universities. This is according to Sir Hilary Beckles, the Principal and Pro-Vice Chancellor of the UWI's Cafil campus. He says it falls in line with the university's 60-20-20 business plan of catering to 60% local students, 20% from the region, and 20% internationally.
That is the group that will bring significant revenue streams into this campus and into this country. There is a tremendous global demand for studying at the Cafil campus. And bear in mind that we interact with universities all over the world. We are interacting with universities in Asia, with countries in Asia, North America, Africa. We move around these spaces, signing MOUs with other universities and so on. And they all want to come to this beautiful campus called Cafil campus. The word has gone out.
Sir Hilary says interest is already being shown by universities from all over the world, but there is a constraint that must be addressed.
They want to come here, but we are at the moment unable to engage that market as aggressively as we would wish, because we have a housing problem. Those vice chancellors and presidents of universities around the world who wish to send their students here, we are at the moment negotiating a major arrangement with New York State University to send students down here. University of South Africa and Johannesburg, University of Johannesburg, we're having conversations.
Well, more children are being diagnosed with disorders such as attention deficit hyperactive disorder, and so additional programs must be put in place to ensure educators are equipped with the tools needed to cope with such issues. This was the message from Principal of St. Bartholomew Primary. She was addressing students, parents and others at the school's graduation.
Philosophy at the university. In an era when many students are becoming excessively restless in the classroom, have the tendency to display all kinds of inappropriate behaviors, and are being diagnosed with all kinds of social disorders, workshops of this nature will equip our teachers with the necessary knowledge and skills to help them identify the behaviors and to cope with them.
Professor Pedro Welch, Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences and Medical History at the University of the West Indies, delivered the feature address. He encouraged students not to discard the tried and proven methods of learning.
I went to school at a time when we learned our tables by heart. When people might have said that we were learning by rote. We learned 2 ones are 2, 2 into 2, 1. And I wish to assure you that I challenge any of the top students of any school to calculate faster than they can based on that old rote method. My suggestion is that even though we adopt the new methods, that we do not throw the baby with the bathwater, that we try to instill in the students' minds that memory, because as one person said, if you aim at nothing, you might hit it.